Craving Grace, Diamond Dogs, Book 2, Chapter 9, written by Anne Malley, narrated by Anne Malley, copyright 2022. Jay trotted down the main staircase. He nodded toward the front desk clerk, then spun right to cut a straightaway toward the lounge. Glamorous women and the rich-suited men who traded them walked through to the gallery. Some sat facing the great hearth to light cigars and conduct the social prelude to the weekend's events. Laughter popped in random places and conversations died out while others began. These are dangerous people, he knew, the confident sort whose nefarious activities didn't keep them awake at night. But Jay would be on alert despite Gracie waking him on the plane. Again. She'd learned not to do that. Catching sleep whenever safety was assured kept an agent alive. Holding his tongue would work to his advantage too, though the lesson was hard coming. The temptation to dog Gracie's every move pimpled his skin, but she needed her space. She wanted respect, and Jay would give it to her. If Gracie were any other agent, he wouldn't think twice about letting her pull her weight. He wasn't her boyfriend or her bodyguard. Besides, she'd barricaded herself in her room, stone walls 3 feet thick. That left reconnaissance to him, a task he'd happily carry out if only to keep busy. Counting the stones on her wall served no purpose. Dex had to have assets embedded at Castle Morgaine. But who? Interpol had skin in the operation too, so the friendlies list could be larger than Jay imagined. Team Talk rushed back to call him a hypocrite. Jay should trust the team, wait, and rely upon the safety net of compartmentalized knowledge. But he enjoyed having what hand he could get in this pairing of Sykes and Snow. So he'd take whatever heat came his way to gather information beyond what his briefing allowed. The lounge spread before him, a garden of subdued lighting and smooth tablecloths, inside a great room that would tell 1,000 tales if it could extol its former grandeur. A bellhop with a plaid sash approached him before he could clear the festooned entrance leading off the flagstone floor. "Mr. Bryden, the same," Jay replied. "A communique." The Scotsman handed him a compact envelope. "Shall I await a reply?" he asked as Jay fingered the white rectangle. "No, but thank you." He took the measure of the man in the periphery of refurbed tapestries and overblown floral display. "Was this sent by courier?" The chauffeur had said he'd update them if need be, but didn't mention the means. It was possible that Dex wanted to scrub the entire mission, a possibility that rankled. Jay's appetite for scorpion had only grown with Gracie in the mix. "I cannot say, sir. I've only come onto my shift." A vague answer, Jay thought. Is there anyone who could say? He glanced at the front desk. "John may know something. I'll ask him if you wish." "That's all right, thank you." Jay extracted a pound note from his breast pocket and sent the man on his way. He tucked the envelope inside his jacket and grinned at a pouty redhead to continue through the lounge. He must be the most popular guy in the place, because another set of eyes sought him out as he wended through the tables. The bloodshot pair weren't nearly as appealing and set inside ruby flesh, the excess of which only served to make the man more imposing. "Mr. Bryden?" "You have me at a disadvantage." Jay stared down the arms dealer from earlier. A curious twist of lips replaced the man's scowl. His bald head cocked in a way that many believed made them look tougher. "Just spit it out. Who are you? And what do you want with me?" "Thaddeus Silk." "I'm surprised you don't recognize me." "Oh, I've been out of circulation." "Is that why she locked you out?" Silk laughed at his own joke. "Locks don't keep me out. Miss Naylor needs quiet, and she'll have it," Jay replied smoothly. He touched his cuffs as if they needed adjusting, then gestured toward the vacant seat opposite him. "You mind?" "I welcome it." Silk downed 3 fingers of scotch as if they were spring water. A black bottle recently freed from a burled wooden caddy stood open, its cork rolled up against a ripple in the tablecloth. "Sparkling water with lime for me," Jay said to the waiter who appeared with an extra glass. Jay's holster was likely visible, but that was a good thing. "Right away, sir." The diamond dog held his peace until the waiter disappeared. "So what is it you want to say?" This Silk may want to start the bidding for whatever he'd left in his room. His twins were markedly absent and likely wouldn't appear at Castle Morgaine's official auction. Great Scotch," Silk mumbled as the red head passed, then turned to Jay. "Watch your back. I assume you brought your machete? Always, Jay said, taken aback. Machete was code. Old, but clear enough. The word meant a contract was up for bid. He scanned the vicinity, the letter taking on a new meaning. How did you happen upon this information? How does anyone come to know what the market demands? It's in the air. Silk poured himself another dose. But someone is bound to fill the vacuum. Why aren't you? Jay asked. Who is saying I won't? Payoffs get me up in the morning. Silk leaned over the table to impress his point. The work doesn't matter so much. So? Jay focused on the damp glass with the floating lime wedge set before him. With the heat on, you could use some extra guns, Silk continued when they were alone again. The bid starts at the purchase of my inventory, or at least trafficking it for me. I'm sure Ms. Naylor would approve, either her or whoever has her on their leash. There's no leash. Jay chuckled this time, recalling Gracie's words, but there was no humor in him. Felicity makes her own deals. A strong woman. Clever, too. If she orchestrated your escape from the States. Silk kicked back. Did she? Ask her yourself. Jay checked his watch, then said, She's upstairs taking her time, but she should be here any moment. The lady likes to make a man wait, eh? Consider yourself warned. Jay struggled to look as if he didn't care if Silk made a play for his partner. Inside, however, he wondered. Gracie wasn't one to be late or early. She didn't need to use the front desk to communicate with him either, but perhaps she had a good reason. 4 o'clock had come and gone. She could have slipped out. Gracie crept out of the shower but left the water running. She corralled wet hair over her shoulders, wrapped the towel around herself, and lifted the HK she'd kept on the toilet bowl. A bullet waited in the chamber, ready to fly. Flashbacks of Iraq mingled with the image of herself in the fogged mirror. But this wasn't the past. This was right now. She could die. The thought thrilled, a spike of adrenaline firing her wet flesh. Another crinkle sounded from the outer room. Fear whipped over her. She licked her lips, bracing the gun with her free hand, and moved toward the bedroom. Jay wouldn't be this stupid, and he wasn't. Not unless he'd dressed like a woman, she concluded. A possibility when working undercover. Although the shift in height and weight even Jay couldn't manage. Gracie drew down, air filling her lungs even as the worst of fear fled. The petite intruder crouched with her back to Gracie. She rifled through the dossiers still stuffed in the black duffel. Coming in close, bare feet silent against the stone, Gracie positioned her weapon, taking aim for the woman's head. Would she pull the trigger? She never had. Gracie blinked, preparing herself. Looking for something? She asked. The woman whirled. She reached toward a snub-nosed pistol. Don't. Gracie lifted her HK. Who are you and what are you doing? I'm Katya Katarov. She stood at Gracie's nod. I don't mean you any harm. Really? The name linked her with Ansar Katarov, the man Jay said that he was watching. A brother? A husband? She wondered. Yes, really. You have nothing to fear from me. A ripple moved through the woman's sleek black brows. I could have killed you in the shower. She could have, Gracie realized, but asked, What's your interest in my bag? Gracie checked the interior of the bedroom before moving to the far side of the four-poster while keeping her trigger finger at the ready. She could be dead. That she wasn't bleeding out on the shower branded this woman as a friend of sorts, for now. I'm waiting, Gracie prodded, her mouth a painted sulk above a fitted white skirt suit. Katarov said, The dossiers. I need to see them. The admission seemed to cost her. Why? Gracie asked. Why are you here? Katarov demanded in hot tones. Ms. Snow. Gracie threw a glance at the side of the bed. We are not discussing me, she said. Anyone who was anyone in this mission already knew her real name. She said it herself, but her insides still churned. Lifting the gun, Gracie crouched swiftly to ensure that nobody was hiding under the bed. The inset closet had no door. There wasn't a way into the room as both entrances were bolted. What's your interest in my things? Speak up, or you're going down, Gracie said. Maybe not to the morgue, but to Scotland Yard. Jay had told her to suspect everyone, and right now Gracie did, him included. The connection with Katarov required it. You're not serious, the woman laughed. I'll take you myself. I don't believe it. Black eyes narrowed on Gracie's HK. You'll blow everything. Tell me precisely what I'll blow, and maybe we can have a conversation. But I'll start. What do you want with my bag? Dex Driscoll had assets in Castle Morgaine, and this woman could be one, although her new boss would have some serious explaining to do if that were the case. Speak up or you're out of here. I need to know if my father is a person of interest. Should he be? No, Katarov said with a haughty flash of dark eyes. That's likely a matter of perspective. Gracie moved in closer. Jay had to be watching the man for some reason. Who are you working for? The woman swallowed. Lower the gun. If it's a standoff you want, you'll lose. Gracie rubbed her mouth against her shoulder, keeping her gun on point. Now who sent you? Scorpion. Jay stared at the red stenciled scorpion, then crumbled the paper it came on. I have to go. Something wrong? Silk's bushy brows peeked above hopeful eyes. You want to get paid? Jay stood. You're working for me. Ms. Naylor, too. Happy to. What about my price? Count on a generous bid, Jay said. That should get things rolling. It's a passage into the States I need, Silk called a little too loudly. Jay peered over his shoulder to say, I'm on it, then sidestepped a tall, dark-suited man with a woman on either arm. He keyed himself back into his suite, checking the interior before knocking on the adjoining entry to Gracie's room. Hey, he said. Hey, are you in there? Gracie swung the door wide. It's about time. He saw the gun first, then the towel and damp legs. You could just say you changed your mind about the tea, he said, before following her gaze. Katya! So you do know her. Gracie's sour tone set his teeth on edge. Katya is the reason why I was at the Nobu, he admitted. Why am I not surprised? Gracie waved him in and shut the door. Did you also know that she works for Scorpion? What? Jay, please, Katya stammered. She tucked her chin, her upraised hands pulling flush with her face. It's not what you think. It isn't? Gracie interjected before Jay could vent rage. She could have killed me in the shower, but your friend here was digging into the files in my duffel instead. I want to know why. Me too, Jay growled. He reached for his Glock, but Gracie raised her gun. I've got this, she said. Stand over there. Jay gasped as Gracie gestured with her gun barrel toward Katya. You're kidding. Do I look like I'm kidding?